What's up, guys? Welcome back to Keeping Up with the X-Men. And you guys knew this one was coming. Let's be honest. If you've been keeping up with Bill, who's been keeping up with the X-Men, you'll know that when you keep up with Bill, who keeps up with the X-Men, he keeps up with Jean Grey. This is one of my all-time favorite X-Men characters. Hands down, without a doubt. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I can't explain it. I don't know if it's there's something about the imagery of the character, the power of the character. She was one of the first girls I remember in terms of media that I remember thinking was cool. And not like I'm attracted to that girl. Like, I thought she was cool, and that was like a major turning point for me because so many other ladies in cinema or whatever was just ladies that I thought were really attractive or something. But this was different. There's something that I honestly appreciated and loved about Jean Grey, and I don't know if it was just the development or if it was my association to where I started with the character and how I seen her broke down from the Phoenix and different things like that. My first introduction to the X-Men, and I've mentioned this before, was the very beginning of the Black Queen. The very beginning. The first book where she is introduced, where the Dark Phoenix happens, that was it. And not the Dark Phoenix, to be fair, the Black Queen. It was the exact same book that made me love Wolverine. It was the exact same book that made me love Jean Grey. That was it. That one book set everything in motion. Like, it made me an X-Men fan. I seen it. I was in love with it. I was at a Piggly Wiggly grocery store, and I bought this book off the rack thinking nothing of it, and I saw Wolverine, and he was cool, and he had the yellow and the black and the blue, and he popped those claws, and he was going to fight the robot, but he never got a chance to fight the robot because Mr. Fat Man made him all heavy, and then he fell to the floor, and then he comes up in that iconic scene where he's like, all right, guys, you've given it your best shot. Now it's my turn. But at the same time, there was something else going on in the book that just intrigued me. There was this Jean Grey character, and she felt like a legitimate, powerful, almost scary character that was somehow caring and interesting. But I could see that there was some sort of darkness, and by the time I reached the end of the book and she'd gone the full circle, she'd become a bad guy, basically, I had to know what this was that I had discovered. And that's where I started reading X-Men. I tried to get it as much as I could. And back then, it was very scattered. I did get lucky enough to get the next issue and then a couple issues here and there. And of course, as I got older, I was able to jump into the bigger picture. But seeing this, Phoenix Resurrection, seeing them bring back Jean Grey is a huge deal to me. So you knew that I was going to talk about this. So let's talk about this. And as this little dialogue that we just had has been going on, you've been looking at the cover, and I'm in love with that cover. I can't show it to you in the way that I would want because, man, I want you guys to see how amazing this is. But I'm telling you guys, there's a 3D effect on this cover, which is crazy. Like, you can look to the sides of it and above it and around it, and all the image and the fire kind of comes up and around the characters. It's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. I really was thoroughly and amazingly impressed. But this story begins with two kids riding down the road on their bikes when they come across somebody who's laying on the ground bleeding from her head, or at least that's what it looks like. And they're like, oh my God, we need to help this girl. Well, as they approach this girl, she sits up. She's got like no eyes. It's very creepy. All of a sudden, like, it gets wild because this other girl shows up, this little redhead, and she's got like this pigeon, and she throws it up in the air, and the pigeon bursts on fire, and everything goes nuts, and she lifts into the sky, and she's like something out of some crazy horror movie, and then we jump to the X-Men's arrival. Now, this is kind of crazy because, first off, the X-Men, of course, have Cerebro and different technology like that, and they know that something has happened here. They don't know what, but something has happened here. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk about this yet, but Rachel recently had something happen to her where the markings came back on her skin from back when she was a Hound. I don't know exactly what's going on. All I remember, and I think I've got the book that would start explaining it, but the last X-Men Gold that I had a chance to read shows her, and she's passed out. She's in like the little hospital area that they use, the X-Men medical facility or whatever. And it says, one of the doctors calls and says, look, I don't know what's going on, but she's developing some kind of skin condition. Then they show it, and it just kind of went from there. So I'm interested to see what that is. But this obviously takes place after that because Rachel has the skin condition. She has the markings, the Hound markings. And it's interesting, on top of that they kind of drew her back to that old costume. I'm really liking this older variant on her original costume. Anyways, just her being around whatever they're coming up on messes her up. And they had to take her back to the jet. Like that's real. She starts bleeding from the nose. She's like, something is wrong. She's having trouble kind of walking and focusing. And Nightcrawler takes her back to the jet while Kitty Pryde talks with the police until the police finally say, look, we're not going to argue with you. You guys are X-Men or whatever it is that you think you are, and this is weird stuff. We're not exactly qualified to deal with it. I guess you can come back here and look at it, to be fair. So they walk back there, and Wolverine is like, okay, Old Man Logan is like, yeah, this would qualify as weird. And this is a small pain. It's a small little thing. I'm not trying to bring up something that we're going to turn into a bigger issue later on or something like that, but this is starting to irritate me. When you draw Colossus, stop chroming him out. Put the plates. Draw the lines. He's supposed to be plated, not just silver. That's not right. Get the damn plates. I apologize. Shouldn't really be freaking out over a detail so small when there's bigger things I could complain about. But something about this bothers me. This single issue bothered me. I did not like the fact that he was standing there all chromed, but he doesn't have the plates. I like him to have the plates. Minor complaint, stupid complaint, held up the review. Let's go ahead and move on. That was the precursor to Phoenix Resurrection, and then the book basically gets underway. Now, all the X-Men teams that we can get in contact with have been contacted, and they're all sitting here, they're all hanging out, they're ready to be talked to, and Kitty and Beast go up front and they talk about what's going on. They say, so far we're having anomaly readings in 3 major zones, and we're going to send different teams to go check those zones out. We don't know what's happening. We have zero idea, and we don't want to speculate. Your mission is to go to these areas and get an idea of what is happening, because we have no clue whatsoever. So, these 3 teams are broken down. One team is sent to the former Hellfire Club. This is the same Hellfire Club that I believe this is the exact building where the Black Queen happened, where my very first X-Men book happened. This club exactly. Then, right after that, the next team is sent to Mont St. Francis. This is kind of neat, too. I don't have a whole lot of experience with what is going on with the reason that they were sent to this place. And then another team is sent to the North Pole. Each of the 3 teams encounters something specific. One team, the one sent to Francis, ends up fighting one of the acolytes of Magneto. And this acolyte should be dead. It's not supposed to be alive, which is its own problem in general. The other team, who went to the Hellfire Club, finds themselves completely surrounded by Hellfire gang members, the foot soldier guys. And it just goes absolutely nuts. And Jubilee even goes as far as to bite one. And she's like, they're not human. Like, it almost makes her sick. She's like, I don't know what they are. They're not human. There's no way they're human, because she can't feed on it at all. She like started throwing up the blood. It was gross. It was nasty. Now, the guys that go to the North Pole, that is something else entirely. They encounter Wolverine. Now, the Wolverine that they encounter looks to me like the same Wolverine that was present in the X-Men versus Avengers book, as far as I can tell. That's my guess as to who they've encountered here, and it's pretty awesome. He fights the entire team. It's pretty neat. He lays out basically the entire team except for Wolverine and except for Old Man Logan and the all-new Wolverine. I keep doing that. I keep calling him Wolverine, and then I go to her and I want to call her Wolverine, and neither of them are Wolverine. One guy is Old Man Logan. Laura, she is not. I keep doing that. I'm sorry. She's the all-new Wolverine. I guess I could just say Wolverine, but since now Wolverine is back, that's going to get really confusing really fast once he finally starts getting plugged into the books. So we'll see where that goes. So while this fight is taking place, while the X-Men team, which is pretty much the Weapon X team, straightforward, was sent down to the North Pole and they're fighting Wolverine, at the exact same time, you've got the other fight with the Hellfire Club going on with the other team that was sent, and then when they break out of the mansion, it sends us to our next, where, of course, we are still fighting. Rogue is handling the bulk of battling the Acolyte, because this Acolyte has the power to take your life force energy by touching you, and she can pretty much do the same thing, and she's strong enough to weather the amount of damage that he can take, and she sends his punk butt through a wall. I say punk butt because I really am trying to tone down whether or not I cuss and things on this show so that everybody can view this show. Basically, I could talk a little more in depth about all this, but that is what happened. Now, each one of these fights, as they come to a close, has the characters looking up into the sky, in which they see what looks like a giant firebird in the sky. They're not strangers to what that is. At least they should not be, 100% without a doubt. But the next scene, when they're all looking up at the sky, cuts us to something that's pretty crazy. There's a girl, also at the exact same time, working at a diner, looking up at the sky. And this girl has a name tag. And that name tag is Jean. Now, at first I thought this was maybe like there's another girl who's grown up, who's also named Jean, maybe a reincarnation thing, and she's going to, and then maybe that somehow the memory's going to get transferred to her. But no, something else is going on, because we spend a little bit of time with this girl in a cafe, and then she goes home. And when she goes home, there's a knock at her door, because today she's supposed to have a date. And that date, in this final page, huge spoilers if you haven't figured out how my show works, is somehow Scott Summers. And it's not young Scott Summers. It looks very much like the old Scott Summers, the adult Scott Summers, and he's a little kind of dead. He's a little bit dead. He's supposed to be dead. He's not supposed to be breathing. He's supposed to be dead. He has ceased to be. He is no longer a part of us. He is an ex-person. No more that guy, but he's right here, and she's right here, and I don't know what is happening, and it's awesome. Like, look, I could be giving this more credit than it deserves. I'm well aware of the fact that I love the idea of Jean coming back so much that I could very much just be loving this book just because it's the idea of Jean coming back, but I think this is pretty solid. It was really cool to see them go back to these old places. The fight scenes were high octane and worked really well. The panels that were laid out were really well laid out to a point where it felt like this was moving, it was exciting, it kept a pace that I enjoyed, and I ran right through this book rapid fire, just bam, 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 and everything that hit was what it felt like it was supposed to hit. It felt like I was watching a little bitty movie of the X-Men. Like, everything just seemed to work. There's enough mystery here, enough action here, enough drama here, and even some comedy strung in here and there. Like there's a part where Sabretooth makes a comment during Kitty Pryde's during when they all go to the meeting and she's doing her presentation. That's the word I was looking for. He makes this joke basically like, so I'm trying to remember exactly what he says. He says something to her that kind of irritates her and sets her off a little bit. Oh, he says, after she basically says, there's a bunch of anomalies and we don't know what they are. He's like, so that's it? You basically drug us all the way out here, put on hold what we were doing to tell us that you don't know what this is? You could have called us over the phone with some crap like that. And then right after that, he ends up being on the team that's sent to the North Pole, and he's like, she did that because I interrupted her little presentation. You know that, right? That's the reason we're out here. We were sent out here because she doesn't like me. And then Old Man Logan is like, first off, Creed, nobody likes you. So that's not what's going on here. But it's fun. This book is fun. This book is awesome. This book is doing exactly what I hoped it would do. And I already have the second and third books sitting in a pile right now waiting for me to read it. So yes, we'll be going over those books as well. But that's it, guys. For right now, in terms of the reviews, as far as I've been able to get, you are all caught up with Phoenix Resurrection. See you later.